like that, and everybody would use the I am 99% as a weapon to like be like, look, forget about all the class tensions that are here. We're all just one. Like, nah, bruh, we're not. And then they'd use that to like, justify it to like they do this ignore gentrification, but they also use that to like justify at first like being apologistic to the police. A few of us
they say the police are the 99%.
Yes, they're
so
part of 99%. They're part of 99% too. And I actually kind of was one of the people who was like bucking against 99% rhetoric. Got a whole bunch of like other poor folks to start chanting. Instead of we are the 99%, we'd be like, we are the proletariat. We are the proletariat. I was like, man, it ain't the same, because when you get like techies and stuff talking about their 99%, you can't say you're a proletariat. Get out of your petite bourgeoisie. And it is what it is. Own it. Like, and then take responsibility for that, and then you can figure it out from there, and we can find a way to be on the same page.
We have a comment here from VCR who said Occupy LA was weak as fuck. I went to repeat meetings and they were fucking thanking cops for coming down on them while they camped on City Hall, completely leaving Financial District.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was the people I knew in LA. That wasn't my
What were your experience?
I mean, I wasn't there, but they were saying shit off, and they like. I mean, I definitely saw a video on communication. There was a lot of different groups. I don't necessarily want to shout them out. I'm not as in touch with LA to be able to be on that, but there were some folks in LA as well as the Bay that were going hard. But I could imagine there are probably a bunch of whack people too. I wouldn't be surprised, because Seattle went super hard, but there was a shit ton of whack people. Like, the reason they went super hard was there was like literally, and I'm not trying to say ego shit, but like there was like 10, 15 of us that were like radical as fuck, like, nah, bro, we ain't with it. And we pushed and pushed and pushed. And the thing was like that actually changed Seattle to more of the radical thing as we push, but we also tell people like what the police were about to do. When we do this, they're going to attack us. They're like, no, they won't. And they like we actually had a saying, a baptization by mace. Or baptization by pepper spray. And literally, it's because we radicalized so many people, not by like the things we were saying originally about what we believed in, but by being able to predict what the police were about to do, which wasn't that hard. Like, if you deal with the cops and protests, you know what they're about to do. So you're like, yeah, it's basic. But
yeah.
But then after that, the police helped radicalize people, really, because if it wasn't for them being such like a clamp down force like that, people would have still been liberal. But because they cracked down like that, people saw what time it was, and they're like, "Oh man, maybe my politics are wrong." Like, yeah, you kind of are.
You know, that's a common thing, and that's sort of the trap that happened in the '60s, also with the anti-war movement. Is these like liberal kids would go out to anti-war rallies, and the cops would be incredibly brutal towards them, and they'd get the crap kicked out of them, and then they'd get thrown in, paddy wagon, and then all the way into freaking jail. Like when I was arrested at Occupy, I was kneed in the spine and thrown into a motorcycle by a cop. Now I went into the paddy wagon, with 4 other occupiers, and they took us down to like One Police Plaza. And like, as I came in to One Police Plaza, like everybody in the holding area was Occupy. And so everybody was like cheering the second we got brought into there. And I remember thinking, man, like, there's a lot of hippies in here. And the thing was people who were not that radical, some who weren't even with Occupy, they were just like on the wrong sidewalk at the wrong time. The cops just decided to grab them. Well, those people are sitting there in lockup for 4 hours, or more, could get as long as 72 hours. And they would like have nothing to do but talk to activists who'd been building for this. So like the people that got arrested came out of the arrest much more radical than what they had been when they went in. And that can happen on a very large scale. It's one of the big problems with police crackdowns on activists.
Yeah, facts.
Before the first clearing of Zuccotti in November, there was a message that kind of got down in the pipeline that Bloomberg was going to send in the NYPD to clear us out. And 4,000 activists from like all over the city came down and like literally like stood shoulder to shoulder, and the police were forced to back down. And a number of like reporters, like my friend John Neffel, who spent a lot of time reporting on it, like he was talking to another more senior journalist, and after that happened, he was like, I've seen a lot of protests stand up to the police. I almost never see them win. So that was like a really huge moment that kind of let people know that Occupy was here to stay, and that there was enough people and support for it that the park could be maintained. That is, of course, why Bloomberg had to make a secret midnight attack on, I think, November 15th, where they deployed NYPD helicopters to prevent coverage from the air. They beat up, arrested, and in general kept journalists away to prevent coverage from the ground. Bloomberg called the head of the New York Times and got his approval and said he'd take their side before he cleared it. And then they went in and cleared it, under the pretext of having to clean the park. Now, what's interesting about the cleaning of the park is that I know the park was clean because I had just donated a bunch of money and supplies to the freaking sanitation working group, which we had because we knew they would clear the park if we didn't keep it clean. So yeah, they came in, they cleared out Zuccotti, and after that on N17, a group of somewhere, the papers reported it as about 1,000 protesters and 5,000 union members. And that might have been true like right at the beginning. But NYPD scanners picked up somewhere between 30 and 50,000 people. And we actually marched on the Brooklyn Bridge. And this time we're able to actually go across the bridge, whereas the last time we had been marched to the bridge, we were funneled there by the police as a way to start arresting people. So N17 was freaking amazing. And it was like, for me, I'm sitting there, I'm seeing we are the 99% projected on buildings. And I'm so naive. All I can think is like, this is going to look amazing in the papers tomorrow.
I feel like it puts some fear into not only the police, but politicians as well. Because I'll be like, one of the things that happened here, right, is there was a crackdown by the mayor. And so after that happened, mayor's house got smashed up. And so that was like one of those things. No, I mean, for real, but the amount of fear and like hesitancy that came after that showed people. I don't know who did it. I wasn't involved in that. I'm going to say it straight up. I wasn't involved in that at all.
And nobody should ever smash any mayor's houses. Nobody should do anything illegal. We just want to make that clear.
And I'm saying I'm
absolutely not.
That's the best disclaimer I've ever given. Please don't smash any mayor's houses.
That was something I mentioned to people, like how much power we had. Also, that we were able to push them out of like parks, for example, the police out of the park when they tried to stop us at SEC, and that we could take them running out of all their chemical weapons on us and still be pushing them to their limit. Those type of things, like the power of the people, I think is the main thing that I feel like was beneficial. Oh, also like the hand signs, some of the hand signs that came from the GAs, like this is my favorite one. I don't know if y'all had it out there.
Oh, we didn't have that one. What is that?
Bullshit.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Full of shit. You're full of shit.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. A few of us that were anti-fascists that were masked up, the Antifa ended up playing a security role, which as anarchists, we were all anarchists, all hated. We hated it. We're like, this is not what we're here for. We're like, but at the same time, we're not going to let just rapists and all that shit just fly. And at that time, the cops are literally sending people into the camp to try to cause problems. Like they're literally doing that. Like, oh, we won't take you to jail if you go over to this camp. And they were trying to cause situations that way. So there were a lot of things with that. And it feels like that happened, but there was like good sides to the tents back in Occupy. Now, mind you, Jenny Durkin was the same person that sent a child molester into Occupy and paid him $90,000. This is our mayor right now, by the way. Paid him $90,000 to spy on Occupy. Just throwing it out there because it's the same person we had to deal with calling it the Summer of Love. That's the same
It's Jenny with the tear gas. Tear gas, tear gas, tear gas.
We could have the Summer of Love.
I'm Captain Allen, the Seattle Police Department. I'm now issuing a public order to disperse.
In Seattle, where we redline zones, so there's more Black Lives Matter signs than black folks. Where the affluent liberals gonna tell you vote, but the Democratic mayor keep a foot in your throat. It's Jenny Durkin that's leading this fucking circus. Sold out the city so that Bezos can purchase it.
Anyway, sorry, I went to rant, but
I'll have to see that. The really quickly though, that I did want to say there, it's a shame that there weren't occupiers involved in Chop Chaz, because the police sending in both infiltrators and, you know, drunks or whoever they could find, say, we won't put you in jail if you go to Occupy, so that they would cause trouble, so that things would look chaotic, so that they could justify clearing it.
So Minneapolis is in Seattle, to be clear. Like we're very different.
But I'm saying, like,
was super fire. I was like,
yeah, I mean, they caught
no pun intended.
The difference is that you never actually like destroyed the police precinct, but you did occupy it. And do you feel like that had any like positive benefits or no?
We didn't occupy it. So basically,
okay.
No. So like actually, someone who used to consider my sister, and one other person got actually a person what used to be my roommate tried to kill me later. But we actually tried to.
That's just the way you said.
No, the doors were unlocked. The doors were unlocked, and so we were like, and don't drink and go to protest. That was like the dumbest thing. I was drunk. We did it bad timing, but we knew they were going to try to take the precinct back. And then someone like, you know, basically was like, yeah, we're just trying to, because they're fencing it up. And these were not cops. These were people fencing the precinct up. Yeah, we're just going to keep anybody from going in there. I'm like, nah, fuck that. So we were trying to go up in there. We're like, nah, we were already planning on doing it. We had a plan, but we're working with other people. And then it was like, oh, I'm just going to make this move. And we got jumped by like 30, 40 protesters to protect the precinct. And and then actually the second time we tried to take the precinct, which was more organized, where it wasn't like some fluke shit where we weren't drunk, we were doing it the way we're supposed to do it. Don't get drunk. I'm telling y'all, I don't usually do that, but because of the lackadaisical way that the Chop was, I was moving differently. But don't do that ever. No matter how lackadaisical it seems, don't ever do that. That's my advice.
I can echo that, by the way. When Cecily McMillan, who was the one occupier who saw jail time for assaulting a police officer, who, by the way, was then later like let go, and if I'm not mistaken, for police misconduct. What had happened with her was she had been drinking. It was St. Patrick's Day, and she just went down to the park to meet a friend. And at that moment, the cops picked the time to clear the park. She feels a hand reach around, grab her breast. Boom. Uh-oh. NYPD police officer. She gets shit kicked out of her and wakes up handcuffed to a bed in a hospital, being told she's facing 7 years in prison.
All money is blood money. Caught a picking president's hand bloody. All money is blood money. War for the gold, leaving children running. All money is blood money. Poppin' wicked murder, we find it funny. All money is blood money. Prison picking slave and they get the funding.
On the block selling dope and diamond to get the gold.